Sometimes you have no control over what will happen next, as I discovered the year I was 12 years old. But sometimes you do, and when you do, that's when it's time to take charge, because you sure don't know when the chance will come again. So today we are going to read The Color of My Words, and that first little section. And when you do, that's when it's time to take charge, because you sure don't know when the chance will come again. Certainly sounds like foreshadowing. I know that we read this yesterday, the beginning part of it, but we're going to start from the beginning, and we're going to read chapter 1 and probably chapter 2 today. Again, I apologize. I do not know Spanish, but I'm going to do the best job that I can. So here we go. Chapter 1, Wash Day, foreshadowing. We are going to write poetry based on these poems. Saturday is wash day for Mommy and me, down by the river that flows to the sea. We carry the baskets high on our hips. We juggle the soap, the scrub board, and clips. Our friends wave hola as we slippery slide on river-age stones to the other side, where sun rays glimmer on a whisper of shade, and Mommy and me tie our hair up in braids. Then whack, I smack the clothes on the rocks to scare out all dirt and grassy spots. Mommy scrubs them up and down, and we both swirl them round and round. Sparkling white and river clean, the clothes smell like fresh air dreams. We clip them safe to bushes and trees, to dry in the sun and flap in the breeze. Later, under the moon's blue light, Mommy and me smooth the wrinkled clothes right. We fold them into neat little squares and take them back home for all to wear. So a lot of things to unpack there. The time, and I think we talked yesterday about how this seems like it's set in like the 1800s, but it's actually set in the later 1900s, because as we find out later, the president that's currently president was president for anywhere from 1962 to 1998. So we'll have to figure out throughout this book when the story takes place, maybe doing a little bit of history. There's a lot of fantastic figurative language. I want you to kind of dive into it a little bit and tell me what figurative language you can find. Maybe listen to it again. We'll talk about it tomorrow. And we will kind of take a look at the stanzas of this poem, and we'll take a look at the rhyme scheme of this poem. We haven't talked about that yet, but those are two things that we're going to talk about tomorrow. Okay? All right, here we go. Wash day was the day I'd get Mommy all to myself. For me, it was the best day of the week, unless it rained. Then I'd have to keep on sharing Mommy with everyone, especially Poppy, who sat on the porch and never moved. Mommy had no time to pat her hair down, let alone share private thoughts the way we did on wash day. At the river's edge, I'd tell Mommy all the special things I had thought about during the week. If I wrote a new poem, I would recite it to her while we dipped our hands into the cool water. It was just me and her in the river. No other hands, no other ears. Mommy was the only person who knew I wanted to write books when I grew up. I knew it was a strange thing to want to do, because we sure didn't know any writers around here. In fact, Poppy told me that in the República Dominicana, only the president could write books. Think about that. Could you imagine? Well, first of all, we have to think about whose perspective this is. Remember, we said that whoever's telling the story is in the story. We know that it's a she. We don't know her name yet, although we're about to find out. And her father's telling her that the only one who can write books is the president. Now, we don't know if that's true, because remember, it's perspective in the book. We don't know if it's fact. Don't worry, we'll find out. But think about if you lived in a country where writing wasn't something you could do every day, like you're going to be doing in a free write today. Realize that when I told you that I went to the Dominican Republic, that I took a backpack of notebooks and delivered them to the students, and they treated those notebooks as if they were gold. Whereas we look at notebooks like notebooks. Like, you know, I open up my desk, and what do I pull out? A notebook. We have notebooks all over the place. We can write on paper all over the place. We have paper everywhere. And we take it for granted. Whereas in the Dominican Republic, whenever this book was written, writing obviously was something that was very scary. I think it's true. I went to the Libreria and I saw a lot of books by President Balaguer. I told Mommy this during our wash day. We were pounding the clothes with rocks, and I gripped mine as hard as I beat the dirt out of Poppy's overalls and my brother Guardio's waiter uniform. Mommy didn't say anything. She just kept turning her sheet over and over as she pounded away. Finally, she looked up and said, Ana Rosa, there has to be a first person to do something. So Mama's saying, you could be the first person. We now know our character's name, Ana Rosa. I think Mommy was telling me that there was no reason why I couldn't try and be the first writer who wasn't president of our island. Either that, or she was hinting that I should run for president. And then, if I won, I could write what I wanted. Sometimes Mommy's words are a puzzle. What is that? Mommy's words are a puzzle. Sounds like a comparison. Sticky note. Put your name on it. Hold on to that sticky note. Tomorrow, give it to me. Mommy's words are a puzzle. I have to spin them around and around in my head as if I'm doing a mental merengue. Sooner or later, I figure out the dance, but sometimes I wish she would just say what she means straight out. Poppy might sound as if he's talking in a puzzle, but I always know exactly what he means. Like when I asked him if I could have a notebook just for writing my poems in, he said, Muchacha, your head is getting bigger than your hat. What does that mean? Your head is getting bigger than your hat. Think about that. When I told Mommy this on our next wash day, she laughed, but I could tell the laugh was only in her throat and not in her heart. Your Papi says funny things sometimes, Carino, she said. He's a dreamer. A dreamer, I asked. How can you say that, Mommy? All Papi does is sit on the porch and drink rum. Mommy's hand shot out faster than a lizard under a rock. I felt the pain on my cheek before I realized what had happened. You have no hair on your tongue, chica. Be careful. Another interesting saying. You have no hair on your tongue. Be careful. I'll explain that one tomorrow. I swallowed my tears and beat the clothes harder. Wash day had never been a day of sharp words and slaps. I felt as if Poppy was a rock falling down from the hills and into our river. What figurative language. After the big splash, there was nothing but silence. In daylight, silence is louder and angrier than at any other time. Silence is angrier and louder than at any other time. Again, beautiful language. What kind? There are no sweet measures of silence such as night stars or evening sunsets or morning's growing light. There is only bright, hard silence, and it sounds louder than drums. I glanced over at Mommy. She was dipping the clothes into the river. Look, Ana Rosa, she said. Look at the river. I looked. The river rushed around Mommy's brown knees and through her blistered red fingers, leaving wet kisses on her skin. The water's leaving wet kisses on her skin. What is that? It'll never pass this way again, she said. Off it will go down the sea, where it will foam with the waves and swim with the fish and glide ships along on steady or rough courses depending on its mood. Around and around the world it will go. The water that slips by me so quickly, far from the Repubblica Dominicana, far from me, but always under the same sky and sun. I had never heard Mommy say so much at one time. I looked closely at the river, but I could not see all that she saw in it. You are this river, Ana Rosa, she whispered, but you must flow softly around the rocks on your way to meet the sea. There you can do as you wish. Okay, a lot to unpack there. You are this river, Ana Rosa. What is that? You must flow softly around the rocks on the way to meet the sea. That's obviously a metaphor, but what does it mean? What is her mother telling her when you're flowing softly around the rocks instead of bashing into it? And then once you get out to sea, you can do what you want. Mommy's words were gentle, but her brown eyes were slits of worry like moon slices. On a dark night. Simile. There was no happiness in the smile she gave. Many days and nights I thought about Mommy's words. But no matter how I turned them or shook them or chased them from my mind, they always came back telling me the same thing. Mommy was scared. Mommy did not have to tell me what everyone on my island knows and what I know too. Writers have died here. At least those brave enough to hurl words at our government. But Mommy, I whispered as I hugged the wall between my bed and hers, I'd write poems and stories. And in the hot, sticky darkness, I heard Mommy's answer, well, sometimes it is better to keep those things inside for a while. I was right. She was warning me to keep quiet, to wait until I left the island and could write what I wanted, when I didn't live in a country where silence was self-defense. But I wanted to shake Mommy's eyes open. Would we always be silent, the bright, hard daylight kind that is louder than drums? Couldn't I say that I wished on paper? Even if it is only that Poppy sits on the porch all day drinking rum. There, I shall never say it out loud again. Mommy's slap will last a lifetime. What is that? Mommy's slap will last a lifetime. What if I write what I want while I'm still a river flowing around the rocks on my island? There's that water reference around the rocks. If she still was on the island, how would that water be hitting the rocks? As Mommy herself said, there always has to be a first person to do something. What is she saying? What is that lit term? Look on your packet. All right, on to chapter 2 later today.